Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Chef Z, and today we're going to be talking about domestic travel within Cuba. So pretty much if you want to get from Havana to Santiago de Cuba, how do you get there? Do you take the bus? Do you fly? If you take the bus, how do you book your ticket? How does it work? So pretty much all of the nitty gritty, all of the good stuff. So if you want to learn, then just keep watching. When I was in Cuba, I actually traveled around 6 different cities. And to give you guys just some perspective, I went from Havana to Santiago de Cuba. So that's like going from one tip of the island to another. And I traveled around the island both in bus and by airplane. And to start off, we're going to start off by talking about everything you need to know about the buses in Cuba. So to start off, I did not take any of the public buses. So like here in New York, we have like the MTA. So Cuba, has their own versions of the MTA. Don't take it. Guys, just stay away. I would not. I'm telling you, just don't even do it to yourself. They are super, super, super crowded. It's unlike anything I've ever seen before. So I just encourage you guys just to not do it. Even a lot of the hosts that I was staying with did just say, just don't bother. Just take a cab and, you'll be fine. Now, the other bus, which is Cuba's version of a Greyhound, that thing is so thorough. Guys, I cannot even begin to tell you the extent of how thorough their Greyhound is. And their Greyhound is actually called the Via Azul. And the Via Azul can get you pretty much anywhere you want to go in Cuba. They have a website so you can look it up, and I'll be sure to put that right here for you guys in case you're thinking about booking bus tickets to go from city to city. Typically, there's a few ways you can get your tickets. So there are in all of the cities, or at least like all of the major cities that you'll probably be visiting, there will be a Via Azul bus station. And you can book your ticket either the day before. You can go to the Via Azul station and book the day before, or you can go the morning of. The problem is that if you're going from a popular city, like say from Havana to Vinales, that bus has a higher probability of being sold out versus a bus from like maybe Havana to Cienfuegos. So I do encourage you guys to be on top of that and at least know ahead of time which cities you want to travel to and bake in some time in your trip to get those tickets. Another option is that you can actually go online to the Via Azul website and book your ticket ahead of time and actually pay for it ahead of time as well, which is also great because the less stuff you have to pay on site on the ground, in my opinion, is better. If you can just preemptively pay for that here while you're in the States where your credit cards work, that's always just, in my opinion, again, it's just so much more easier and so much more convenient. If you do buy your ticket online, you do want to be sure to print your receipt because Cubans love them some paperwork. They're all about the paperwork. They are very, very meticulous. So be sure to print it out. And when you get to the Via Azul station on the day of your trip, be sure to show up about an hour or two ahead of time. And you'll still have to like check in and check your bags and do all that fun stuff. But just know that you can buy it ahead of time. And the cost of the bus is really affordable, and it just really depends on where you're going. So say you're going from Havana to Varadero or Havana to Vinales, which are relatively nearby, those tickets are going to be a lot cheaper versus if you're taking a bus from Havana to Santiago de Cuba. Again, they vary in price, but they're all pretty affordable. I think the most expensive bus ticket that I purchased was maybe $25. Again, it was not so bad. I will say that the buses do leave on time, so don't chance it. Like if you don't have your ticket and you're gonna show up the day of to get your ticket, don't show up 20 minutes before thinking you're gonna get on there because you might not. The buses are so reliable that a lot of the locals also take the Via Azul, so also keep that in mind. Now, option number 2. This happened to me actually. So say the Via Azul is full and you really, really, really want to go to a city. Another option is that you can actually travel through a private bus tour company. And the one that I used was Cubanacan. I'll write that name right here. Again, Cubanacan. Now, Unlike Via Azul, at least at this time, this may change at the time of your trip, you could not purchase a Cubanacan ticket online. It had to be in person. And you can pretty much find a Cubanacan rep in any of the touristy hotels, because they're tour guide companies pretty much, and they have like these red shirts. And there's more than one type of private bus. There's like Infor there's Cubana Tours, there's a whole bunch of different ones. You just kind of have to ask if they charter buses from city to city. And sometimes you can just pay just to get yourself to the other city, or you can pay them for a day tour. That's really up to your discretion and what you want to do. Now, I will say this. I booked a ticket from Havana to Trinidad, and I had to buy that ticket the day before because there had to be enough people wanting to go to Trinidad for Cubanacan to charter that bus to Trinidad. Now, Trinidad is a very historical city in all of Cuba, so the probability was really, really high that they were going to have the bus, and they did. And these buses, were a lot nicer than the Via Azul because they were a lot more modern. But again, the Via Azul is fine. It's air conditioned. The Cubanacan is just a little bit more upgraded, and it's also slightly pricier. So I do, kind of warn you on that. It was maybe like $5 more expensive. Yeah, and as mentioned before, the buses are air conditioned. So it's got a lot of the stuff in Cuba is air conditioned. I think there's this misconception that Cuba does not have air conditioning. That is not true. All of the casas that I stayed at had air conditioning, and a lot of the restaurants also do have air conditioning. Okay, so now moving on from the bus, we're now going to talk about domestic flights in Cuba. And I have to take a moment because I have to channel the patience. All right, so my least favorite part of the whole entire trip was flying inside of Cuba. I'm gonna tell you right now, if you're thinking about flying and if you're thinking about taking a domestic flight within Cuba, channel all of the patience that you have. And then once you have that patience, go online and buy some more. And then after that, Air Express some so that there's some waiting for you in Cuba, because you're going to need all of the patience in the world to take a domestic flight in Cuba. Like, I have goosebumps right now just thinking about my experience of flying domestically. Do I encourage you to book a domestic flight in Cuba? Honestly, no. You're better, and let me backtrack. So I flew from Havana to Santiago de Cuba. I then took a bus from Santiago de Cuba to Baracoa because they're nearby. And then from Baracoa, I flew from Baracoa to Havana. Again, I do not recommend that you fly domestically in Cuba, and here's why. The buses are on time, but those flights are not on time. When I was flying from Havana to Santiago de Cuba, I kid you not, my flight was 13 hours delayed. 13 hours delayed. Yep. And then when you check in, there are no automated kiosks. Like, everything is handwritten. So you have to show up to the airport like a good 4 hours before your flight even leaves, because they are hand checking everyone in and handwriting your boarding pass. So you have to make a line to check in, a line to get your boarding pass, another line to check in your bags, and then another line to go through security, and then another line to then board the plane. I'm exhausted just even telling you guys all about that. But again, I will say, like, one of the convenient things is that the flight is a lot quicker than the bus, but giving the inconvenience factor, the bus from Havana to Santiago de Cuba, it was 16 hours, but meanwhile, my flight was delayed 13. So I could have just taken the bus. Honestly, it's up to you. It's your decision. Now, how do you book a domestic flight within Cuba? I will put the link right here or put it down below. It's fairly easy. Like a lot of the other things, they accept some credit cards. Your credit cards will work online, so you can book the domestic flight. Also, managing your expectations here and warning you, it's not going to be one of the newer planes. It's definitely an experience, and one that I'll never forget, because we flew in like this military looking Russian jet plane from like the 50s. Like I felt like I was in like the Captain America movie, like the first one. It's actually kind of funny. But yeah, that's all there is to know about the buses and the plane. The buses are definitely the way to go. They're fairly affordable. They're always on time. They're air conditioned and will take you anywhere you want to go in Cuba. The flights are always late. Fairly uncomfortable, but will get you there quick if you go there on a good day. Now, if you guys have any other questions, comment below or hit me up on social media. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe, and come back next week when I have an all new video.